Good afternoon and welcome to our webinar. My name's Howard. I'm our Sage Business Development Manager with DB Computer Solutions. Thanks very much for joining us today. For the past 30 years, DB Computer Solutions, we've partnered with hundreds of customers across Ireland and beyond. By listening, we apply the most appropriate solutions to help businesses flourish using Sage 50 and Sage 200. Sage 200 in particular covers a wide variety of sectors. And in order to do that, we need to provide flexible solutions to suit the nuances of each client. One such requirement is e-commerce and the ability to share information to and from online websites, either with the more popular options of Shopify or WooCommerce or directly through your own websites. This has become a necessity for most businesses' survival, particularly over the last couple of years. To help clients, DB Computers need to have a more nuanced solution, and we do this by partnering with the best Sage accredited developers such as Eureka Solutions, who will be demonstrating their product Besyncly this afternoon. With me today is Alan James from Eureka Solutions, who will talk us through the range of solutions Besyncly can provide, not only for e-commerce, but for other purposes only. As always, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to pop them into the chat section or the Q&A section, and we will answer them at the end of the actual webinar itself. So without further ado, let me introduce you to Alan, who will share his screen here now. My screen, or you seem okay? Can you hear us, Alan? You might be on mute there.
Apologies there, I was on mute. Yes, I've now picked the screen up so everyone can now see my screen. Can you see my screen, Howard?
I can, yeah.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Alan James, and the head of this presentation, why is everyone talking about system integration? Could it be the missing link for business efficiency and digital transformation? So this is me. I'm Alan James. I've been working at Eureka for 10 years now. Previously spent some time at Sage. I spent the previous 10 years at Sage looking after Scotland, Northern England and Northern Ireland. And I've got more than 30 years experience working in business and finance. And I sort of head up the Besyncly integration platform via our partners, just like DB Solutions. So we have a short agenda. We're going to have a quick look at Eureka, who we are and how we support our partners. Then we'll look at why they need to consider system integration. Perhaps you guys will know or won't know what is possible with system integration and how it can make you more efficient, a slicker operation, more up to date, with reduced manual processing. We're going to look to see what system integration is, some common challenges for people who don't have integration. And we're going to look at integration methods with an iPaaS, which is our Besyncly product, an integration platform as a service. So it is an annual subscription for businesses in Ireland. And how could system integration make your business slicker, quicker, and more efficient? And then we'll go into the product. So Eureka Solutions are based in Scotland, just south of Glasgow. We were founded in 2004 based on two core guiding principles: our technical expertise and our customer service to our partners and to our partners' clients. We are a Sage accredited ISV and developer. That's products are accredited and our staff are accredited. So that's two accreditations there. We have won Developer of the Year for Sage 5 times. We have multi-award winning solutions, one of them being the pre-runner of Besyncly that was called Data Exchange. That won many awards, not only from Sage, from other parties. We are an integration specialist. We have the knowledge of Sage 200 as well as your platforms. We currently have about 75 employees now, and the majority of our staff are on technical roles. And we offer a customer satisfaction following a support call that you can log in and put your comments down. And we have 9.7 out of 10. But we're open, and it's all warts and all on that site. So good, bad, and the ugly is on that site. So what is system integration? System integration is defined as the process of operationally connecting separate computer systems or software applications, allowing each solution to functionally work together, i.e., one system talking to another without manual input. That's the whole idea of system integration. So why would we consider system integration? As your businesses grow, you may take on more products. When you take on new staff, they'll bring products perhaps they have used in the past from a previous job or previous position to do the job that they want. But the bigger picture, i.e. the integration, brings all that data together. Businesses don't just run off an accounting system. Businesses rely on a variety of systems to operate functionally well. I.e. you'll need an ERP system like Sage 50 or Sage 200 that you may want to integrate with Shopify, WooCommerce, Magento, Amazon, eBay, and more. We have connectors for Besyncly to allow us to integrate to third-party CRM systems, multiple e-commerce systems, and others. The whole idea of automating data from one system to another. Often systems don't work well together, having to print off, I guess, orders from your website and then manually keying them in to a system. The idea of integration is to stop all that. But it's not just basic integration. There's lots we can do when integrating. We can set defaults so that we're posting to default customers, or we're picking up selected stock items. There is so much we can do to stop the manual intervention required when we haven't got integration. It makes you more efficient having an integration, and when you're not, manual keying is susceptible to errors. So common pain points. You have no, when you're not integrated, you have no clear unified view of data. Printing data off of one system and rekeying it into another, margin for human error, it's time consuming, perhaps resources are strained, staff feel under pressure, and often customers are let down, not knowing if their products is being dispatched, not knowing if the order is en route to them, if they've ordered the right thing, all these sort of items. With Besyncly integration, we can manage things like creating new customers in Sage from a third-party system, creating new suppliers, processing orders. So not only can we bring orders into Sage, we can allocate, dispatch them, generate the invoice, and post the invoice to the ledger. And one of the major plays here is we can allocate the payment for that order and allocate it to the invoice. We can manage stock levels, we can manage dispatches. So when the goods are dispatched from your warehouse, we can send an integration back to your relevant platform to say, dear Mr. Customer, the goods are dispatched. And much, much more. Ultimately, the Real Olive Company was the first customer who purchased Besyncly some 2 years ago. And ultimately, This has dramatically reduced the amount of manual processing, eradicating the risk of keying errors, and generally making their growing online business a much slicker, quicker operation. Okay, so let's have a look at Besyncly. So Besyncly is a cloud-based solution. It sits in the Google platform. Now, the reason we're using the Google App Engine platform to operate Besyncly is because of its security. We're very keen on security now with data. The Google platform allows the data to be encrypted when the data is traveling from one connector to the other. Now, security is a big part of the system, and we also have two-factor authentication for your internal security with Besyncly, and this can be set up in different ways to work with your business. So it's like the bank two-factor authentication. So within Besyncly, we have a dashboard that I'm going to discuss shortly. We have connectors, integrations, and templates. So let's first of all look at the dashboard. The dashboard tells you, the user, how many transactions you've used and what transaction allowance you have left. The product is paid for on an annual subscription, but it's based on a monthly transaction allowance, and you're allocated anything from 10,000 transactions per month to as many as you like. We've got clients on 500,000, 750,000, and we have one on 1 million transactions per month. A transaction is when an order hits Sage from your third party, or we've created a customer in Sage from a third party e-commerce platform or CRM system or warehouse system. That is a transaction. If we're creating a customer from a third party and creating it in Sage, that be Sage 50 or Sage 200, that also is a transaction. Updating stock. So if we want to have stock levels on our e-commerce platform or stock levels in our CRM system, then moving a stock level from Sage into the e-commerce platform is also one transaction. That's one transaction per stock item. At this point, I'd like to discuss the efficiency of this product. We first implemented Besyncly in a company called Misguided some years ago, where they had 50 staff keying in sales orders from their multiple e-commerce platforms into Sage, and they were processing thousands of orders per day. After the implementation of Data Exchange stroke Besyncly, they reduced that staff number down to 5 and had all the orders coming in from more than 20 websites automating into Sage 200 at that time. Okay, so you as a user get to see the Besyncly dashboard, so you can see the transactions that you've used and what is remaining. So let's look at the connectors. If you look at the right-hand side of the screen, these are the connectors for the relevant platforms we have out the box. So we can connect to Amazon, BigCommerce, Breathe, which is an HR system, eBay, EPOS Now, which is an EPOS system, a cloud-based EPOS system. We can also process flat files. A flat file is a CSV file. So if you have a bespoke e-commerce system or a third-party system that can export an order file or a customer file, we can import that data via an FTP. However, the whole reason Besyncly was designed was for the API integration, so we connect directly into all of these platforms. You may have a large company with subsidiaries throughout the country. So you might have your head office using Sage 200, but subsidiaries using Sage 50. You have the ability to connect anything to Sage within this platform. So we could connect Sage 50 to Sage 200, Salesforce, Shopify, WooCommerce, eBay, Amazon, Freshdesk can all integrate to Sage 200, either professional or standard. Point to note, it isn't the amount of companies that we're integrating or the amount of websites that we're integrating into. It's all about transaction allowance. If you're staying within the relevant transaction allowance, whatever that may be, it doesn't matter the connections you have. It's all about the transaction allowance. Obviously, if we're setting up more companies, we're setting up more websites, we're setting up more integrations, then obviously the delivery time will be longer. So let's create an integration. So I'm going to first of all create a connector using the WooCommerce API, and I'm going to call this DB Sage Sales. I'm going to hook on to the DB WooCommerce domain, log in using their password and their secret key. Whatever platform it is, there'll be a password or a token or a secret key or something to allow us access onto that API. Each platform has got their own way of logging in. This is just a way for WooCommerce. I'm going to create that connector, and you'll see up here, there's my DB Sage Sales. There's the connector that hooks me on to DB Computer's WooCommerce platform. I've already created a connector for Sage 200. So now I'm going to create an integration. So the connector is the widget that hooks on to the platform. I've just created one there for DB. And as you can see here, I've already got one called Alan. So I'm now going to create an integration which brings the two connectors together. And I'm going to go up here and we'll go DB Web Sales. And we'll go from. So the export connector, we're bringing orders in from Woo. So the export connector is Woo. I'm going to look for my DB connector, and there it's there, my DB sales connector that I created a second ago. I'm going to add that to the integration. I'm going to look at Sage 200 Professional. It could be Sage 50. It could be Sage Standard. There's my connector there that you saw before. Now, what Besyncly has done now, our guys, when they create integrations, create what we call templates and create them in a public zone to allow them to use those templates to make delivery sort of quicker or more slick for the customer. So I'm going to select that template. So here on the left-hand side of the screen are the field names for WooCommerce. And on the right-hand side of the screen, or the center of the screen, we have the field names from Sage. So what we're actually doing here is we're mapping one field in Woo to one field in Sage. Now, if we haven't got the connector within Besyncly, we can create a connector as long as your third-party platform has got an API. If it hasn't got an API, then your third-party platform could export a file in a CSV format that we can pick up and bring into Sage. If it's a non-standard file, we can create a bespoke development to bring that file in also. We also have the ability to create a connector to, if the system has an API, to create a connector to bring that data in and map it to relevant fields within Sage. There's no two businesses operate the same. There are no two products the same. So we have the ability, we wrote this product so we can add functionality to it. So as we can see here, the order number from Woo is becoming the customer order number or the customer sales order number or within Sage. Here we have the address number to address line 1. We'll go a bit further down and we'll see postcode to delivery postcode, SKU to stock code item. Point to note, we can create integrations that bring the orders into a default sales ledger account. So if it was a consumer account, we might not want to keep the details on the accounts. We might clutter up our sales ledger account. So we just pop those orders into a specific web sales ledger account. But we can also post sales to a specific customer. So if Bob Smith Limited logs into our website, places an order, we can post his orders, thus invoices, to his sales ledger account. We can also do many other things like automatically create the customer if it don't exist in Sage based on an email address or a postcode or similar. So the integration will check if the customer exists in Sage, and if they don't exist in Sage, it will create the customer and process the order. Okay, it's all well and good that we can do mapping from one system to another, but an integration needs more than just mapping. 200 in particular is multiple warehouses. I think that even happens in Sage 50 now. So we determine what warehouse do we want the goods shipped from. It's a document type, it's an order. We're using a standard delivery charge. The line type on the Sage order is a stock code. So the SKU up here has got to match the stock code. However, if it doesn't, if for some reason within Sage 200 only, that your stock codes don't match in Sage, are different in, say, WooCommerce than they are in Sage, we have the ability with a bit of development and the plus pack to bring in what we call stock code aliases. So we can map them to the existing codes. Excuse me, I'm just going to pause myself for a second. Thank you. And so there's other things we can add. A default customer account or specific nominal code or cost center or department. We can place all orders on hold when they come in or not. We can remove that from the integration. We can automate, so the orders come in and automatically be allocated, or we can dispatch them and create the dispatch note. We can generate the invoice. Whatever part of the process you want the orders to go to, we can do that. So we can also set notifications so that when the orders come in, determined by the schedule, then someone or a group of people will get an email to say your orders are in. We've also got the ability to save any data. So we can save any data that comes in. We can save it. We also got the chance for config. I mentioned config before as development. So here we have the ability to add additional development to the integration. And up here we have the schedule. So we could run the schedule by a specific day or a specific time. Or we can say, let's do it every 30 minutes. Please process these orders every 30 minutes. And we'll confirm that. We'll switch the integration on and we'll save that integration and we'll come out. So here we have our sales order import. So this is one integration. Each integration is independent. So you may have stock levels going up to the website. You might have the creation of customers. You might have pricing here. So you can have as many integrations as you like, as long as you keep within your transaction allowance. And if you start off at a transaction allowance, let's say 10,000 transactions a month, and you need more, it's just a case of upgrading to the next level, which is 20,000, then 50,000, then 100,000, and so on. So here is the integration. We can run it manually just by clicking that button there. We can switch the integration off if you've got a Sage 200 upgrade happening or the system's down for some reason. You can switch the integration off. You can edit the integration here. And our ultimate aim is for the user to get to know the product and have the ability to get in and have the confidence to know that they can edit their own integration, perhaps add an analysis code or analysis field, or get to understand the data fields in between the products, and hopefully the customer can edit their own or create their own. We can edit the schedule, we can edit the notifications, add emails and whatnot, edit dev, information on the integration, who created it, when it was created, and when it was last updated, and when it's next likely to run, based on the schedule. And if I go to logs here, so that there's my sales. Obviously, I'm running a test system, so I have no real connection to DB's website. But so it's an error here, but you get the idea. You get an ID, a date and time stamp, so you can see ultimately where the orders have gone. So from here, I'm going to move over to what we call the field guide, just to give you a bit of understanding what we do for each platform. Looking at Sage 200 Professional. Okay, I've just been asked a question from Marcel. Does the system have features to manage uptime, availability of integration platforms? There is uptime. Well, the connector will always be switched on unless you switch it off. So that's determined by the schedule within the integration. Thanks for that, Marcel. Okay, so you'll see there is lots of touch points within Sage. So we can, if you look at all these headers here, so we go to customers and click on customers, every field within the Sage 200 in this component are available for us to bring in data to, including analysis fields, spare fields, spare date fields, spare bit fields, and text fields. So we can import all that information into Sage. And we can export all this information out of Sage into a third party. So you can see we can manage a lot of processes, but generally from e-commerce platforms, it would be orders in and perhaps stock levels out. If I go look at the stock level. So here we have the stock code in Sage, stock name, and the free stock quantity. And here we have the analysis code. You may or may not know Sage 200 now has 20 analysis fields within a stock code. You would highlight one of those analysis fields as a product you sell on e-commerce, because you may not sell everything on e-commerce as you do on other platforms. And that would be how we identify sending those products to the website. Let's have a look at Shopify. So Shopify, we can export customers, edit customer details, products, edit products. We can pull in draft orders. We can pull in orders, sales orders, and so that's exporting from Shopify and importing into Shopify, i.e. from Sage 50 or Sage 200 customers, editing the customer details, products, inventory, fulfillment, i.e. the goods have been dispatched. It's like a sales order status. Here we have an order. If we click on order, there's the API field names for Shopify. So it's just a case of mapping the Sage 50 or the Sage 200 field to that relevant field within Sage. Okay, so that was a whistle-stop tour of Besyncly. Each client generally has their own individual requirements. Currently, we've got about 175 live sites using Besyncly. So we think by now we've seen most, if not all, possibilities. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Alan. I mean, that's given a fairly, a good description as to what Besyncly can do, and being familiar with, the likes of its predecessor in data exchange. You can see with the connectors there already, it smartens up how you can link with some of the other sites. So just to jump back to some of the questions and answers earlier on, one of the queries we got earlier on, we just got some clarification on managing the uptime availability of integrated platforms. So the question was, if one of the platforms in the integrated systems is upgraded to a new version, how is the integration managed? Do you need to revisit the integration really?
Okay, that depends on the platform. So if we're talking about Sage 50, because Sage 50 hasn't got an API, we have written an API for Sage 50. So if someone wants to upgrade their Sage 50, they need to make you aware that they're looking to upgrade to the next version of Sage 50. We would need to update the web service for the later version of Sage. So our products generally are on the next version, on the Sage's next version, 3 to 4 weeks after Sage launch. So don't go there straight away. Ensure that you inform you, then you'll inform us. We need to upgrade the web service in both Sage 50 and Sage 200. That's the only thing that changes the web service.
I think that's good advice and a rule of thumb for anybody who's upgrading Sage 50 or Sage 200. Obviously with 200 it's a bit more obvious. In some cases on sites with Sage 50, people can update Sage 50 without thinking anything. Obviously, if you're upgrading anything, there's a lot of other considerations that need to be taken into account, such as your versions of Office, the integrations you currently have with anything else local, and Besyncly would be no different. So in any kind of upgrade, I think it's just a good rule of thumb to just take note, and before you jump, to sort of let everybody know before you do it anyway. One of the other questions come in here: how do you manage the ever-changing network of platforms within the system? Is there some way to capture release schedules, etc.?
So, well, obviously, there's lots of platforms here, and these guys, well, Amazon have been painful all the time. I've been with Amazon because they, I guess, they own the e-commerce world, and so they change things very quickly. But we can very quickly thereafter update. But all these platforms won't automatically update you. They inform you that they're about to update you, and they give you a lot of time. And we'll know in advance too that the relevant platform you're using is planned to update. We are partners with all the major e-commerce platforms. We're obviously partners with you and Sage. So we will know when things are about to update, and it's part and parcel of the support. The updates or the upgrades would be free. The only thing that isn't free is the delivery time. So there would be a charge to do the update or the upgrade online.
And that's reassuring to know. So the other question here, who manages that, Eureka or the client?
We would like that to be managed via the business partner. So the client, please speak to DB and DB will get in touch with us.
Okay, very good. And just some other questions, obviously that I drafted up myself here as well, Alan. So for instance, I know it's how long is a piece of string. Let's take an example of where we have, somebody who has a copy of Sage 50. They have the system set up, they have all their products set up. They're currently using a sales order process, and they want to link to something like Shopify. So Shopify, obviously one of the more popular ones there. Just in your own mind, what sort of time frame are you looking at from sort of start to finish? If you were to sort of push the button and say, yeah, we want to link to Shopify, we want our orders coming into 50, and we want our stock updated on Shopify itself. Is there any kind of estimate, just as obviously I'm not trying to pin you down and put you in front of everybody to guarantee a time frame, but just a general kind of estimate, just to give people a sense of how long that takes.
So I guess once after, we always do we call it a Besyncly review, and we take the customer through Besyncly, investigating what they want from the system. So let's say it is orders in and it is stock levels up. We'll prepare a proposal which we'll give to you guys at DB. I would think from date of order, you would expect a call from our projects department to book you in 3 weeks following that initial demo, and expect work to start probably 6 weeks after date of order.
Yep.
And probably been delivered. There's always homework for the customer to do.
Of course, yeah.
But you'll probably find it'll be delivered perhaps over a month period. So 6 weeks to start and another month thereafter to go live.
Yeah, and I always find it's an opportunity when we're trying to put something together like this, is it, an actual review of the stock, how the stock's set up, particularly with Sage 200, taking a look at, because you're moving into a new area where you're recording sales from elsewhere, where to apply the correct analysis codes and, for the purpose of reporting as well. So it just opens up an opportunity to sort of look at that, to sort of make sure you're analyzing how all that's working. And the reporting to do that too. Let's see. So the other thing you mentioned earlier on is that it's not just simply e-commerce. You're not just linking, in this case, say any of the Sage Accounts products to the actual websites, but in some cases, we have some companies, they have different entities, they might have different accounting systems across each, and depending if they're a subsidiary of the other company, they may need to feed back into one of the other accounting systems. So I take it the actual connectors you've shown would be very similar in how they do that too.
So there's options for the customer. So if we're integrating to a product we haven't got a connector for, we can do it in two ways. If that product has an API, we can build a connector. So we would quote to build a connector to have the operational functionality that the client requires. Or perhaps a less expensive option would be for the client's system to produce a CSV file. That we can go and pick up from either an FTP, an SFTP, or an FTPSE. And then we can pull that data into Sage 200. So depending on that file format, and if the client can work to our standard format or the Sage standard format, then all well and good. There's no additional cost. But if it is a format that isn't standard, we would have to create some dev to bring that in.
Okay. And the other thing I was going to ask you as well is that we've seen it before and we've spoken about it, but if you're working with the likes of Amazon, you could have different countries as well that would have different links, wouldn't you?
Yeah, we do, every country.
Yeah.
But Amazon recently Amazon have this the Amazon have recently changed their API. I think it was September it changed, and currently they don't allow the shipping address to come in on the order. We're working on that with Amazon, but we can import orders from Amazon.
Yeah,
we just can't. It doesn't bring in the shipping address, so you'd have to ship it with the address from the Amazon order.
no, I get you.
Yeah, the API doesn't allow the export of the Amazon delivery details or the customer's delivery details.
All right, and another question come in here. Are the integrations bi-directional?
Yes, indeed. So we can do, so it's all a mapping exercise. It's all about, let me just take you to another integration. I just go here and I'm going to go, we'll just click on another one, new staff sale, we'll go in here. So depending what the functionality is we're looking for. So if we're moving data from Sage to Woo, or Sage to Shopify, or Sage to Salesforce, or Salesforce to Sage, it is all bi-directional. All depends what the process is that we're looking to automate.
Very good. What's sort of the more common things you're asked about this? You know, when people are just trying to, I mean, are you finding sort of common trends towards the already custom made links like WooCommerce, Shopify?
Yeah, so generally, I think we've further developed our connectors since the launch. You've never get everything sort of tucked away. We thought that we'd launched the connectors to do everything that everybody wanted. But over the last 2 years, we've found that businesses operate in sort of many different ways, and they all want to do different things.
Yeah.
And these connectors are now so powerful. It's rare that we need to do development on the off-the-shelf products like WooCommerce, Shopify, Magento. Generally, everything we can do, most things that people want to do.
Yeah.
We've got an Irish customer called FarmEd, who have got offices in the UK mainland as well, and they sell through their customers. So they have business partners that sell their products, but they use their own website to sell their products, which is connected to the FarmEd warehouse. So when a client places an order for a product with company A, it's actually shipped from the FarmEd system.
Got it. And look, you've touched on this as well. It's not simply just for that. I mean, there are other sort of, you know, industry based. There's an industry-based software that's out there that, you know, can have an API already, you know, available.
Yeah,
that you can possibly link into.
Just yesterday, I've recently quoted for integration into JobLogic, which is a remote maintenance, building and repair maintenance. I think it was for a gas engineer who's send their engineers out on site. They do a job. Once the job is done, they get a signature off the customer. The plan is to bring those orders from JobLogic straight into Sage, so the client can bill his customer whilst the engineer is still on site. That's the whole plan. So yeah, so if the product has an API, an open API, we can connect to it.
Very good. All right, well, just to check and see if anybody else has any further questions. We're heading towards the end of the actual webinar. Obviously, we want to make sure that everybody is free to head off for lunch as well. But if there's any other questions, we'll just give you a second or so if anybody wants to ask anything. Don't forget, feel free as well. If anybody wants to talk directly, we can organize a one-to-one session and we can go into a bit of detail, take a look at your existing setup and see what's most appropriate for you. We can talk through all of that. You can catch myself. We'll be sending out a link to the actual video together with contact details to sort of follow up on anything. We'll also send over a copy of the actual presentation that Alan has shown earlier on, with a little more detail in it also. But if there's no more questions, then look, if you do, if you know the webinar is finished, please send them on to howard.murphy@dbcomp.ie, and we'll come back to you with anything else that we can elaborate on for you as well. Okay, well, look, it seems we're done with questions here currently at the moment, and we're at the end of our webinar. I hope you all found it very informative. Alan, thanks very much for the presentation. It's very enlightening. I'm sure you know, people can see solutions there for them, you know, and how that would work for them in the way that you've actually laid out. So look, without further ado, I'd like to thank everybody for attending here, and look, we look forward to talking to you soon.
Thank you.